Everything you need to know about the Seattle Mariners offseason plans. Let's talk about it. So it's safe to say, as of yesterday, the Seattle Mariners name has been floated around in a few different things. As well as Daniel Kramer recently came out with an article that summed up some questions that Mariner fans have had, and we're going to go over some of that today, as well as some of the bigger news that the Seattle Mariners are involved in. So let's start with arguably some of the biggest news that I've actually recently heard, and that is from Adam Jude. And he said that the Seattle Mariners are preparing to make a recruiting pitch for Roki Sasaki's camp for when he is posted. So this is arguably very big news. I mean, it would be pretty stupid for the Seattle Mariners, just like any other baseball team, to not get involved into this conversation. But it is also known that Sasaki has considered a small market team if it is the right fit. And like I previously said in our last video, Seattle is a great spot for him to come over and play his first few seasons, or hopefully, maybe even spend his career, but that is looking way far down the line. But it is nice to hear that they are involved for when he is posted, as well as the fact that he definitely is going to consider a small market team. So while this is pretty decent news to hear that the Mariners are involved, it is still very much a long shot that he ends up becoming a Seattle Mariner, but this is also something that came out just yesterday. So the next piece of information, which some of you are definitely going to laugh at, is per Francie Romero over on X, the Seattle Mariners are amongst a few teams showing interest in free agent infielder Yoan Moncada. Now, if you told me that they were going to do this back in 2019, I would have said this is a fantastic deal, because in 2019, he hit .315 with a 139 WRC plus, 25 home runs, 79 RBIs, and a 5.2 WAR. And in the past few seasons, the best season he had was back in 2021, where he hit .263 with a 120 WRC plus and a 3.7 WAR with 14 home runs and 61 RBIs. Ever since 2021, he has not been able to stay healthy and has posted up 76, 98, and a 117 WRC plus, but that 117 WRC plus last season was in 12 games. Now, I'm not surprised the Seattle Mariners are targeting a guy like this who is older and will come much cheaper on a deal, probably anywhere from $4 to $6 million, maybe even a little less, honestly. But his injury history is longer than my grocery list. He has 19 injuries that have caused him to miss time since 2018. Things from a hamstring to leg soreness to his back to his knee to an illness to his hand, oblique, hamstring, back, abductor, all these different injuries that he has been dealing with since 2018. So if you were to go out and get Yoan Moncada and you planned on him being maybe in a platoon role or kind of a utility guy, I would not be complaining. But if you're planning on giving him the everyday third base role, then we might have an issue. The guy has had some pretty good seasons throughout his career, but all these injuries have definitely halted him from living up to his full potential. And that is not really something I'm interested in trying to learn more about, unless, like I said, he's going to play a utility role. But let's act surprised that the Seattle Mariners are going after an older player that would cost them cheap and that they can put in and say they tried this offseason. So next we're going to move into the Daniel Kramer article, which goes through a lot of information and a few questions that Seattle Mariners fans have definitely had this offseason. So starting off with some good news is that the Seattle Mariners have already had discussions on bringing back Justin Turner. Justin Hollander said he's a player that connected with a lot of different parts of our clubhouse and really did make a connection with our team, with our coaches, and with our front office. We'd love to have JT back. So if you're a Seattle Mariners fan, this is very good news that they are going after Justin Turner, who clearly meshed very well with this clubhouse and is someone that can come and still perform at the age of 40. And as we've known for a while now, Justin Turner definitely plans on coming back for the 2025 season to play again. And like we've also stated in previous videos, this is definitely a guy that will come in and just be a massive leader, almost like another coach in a way, but can hopefully produce at the plate as well. But he will come in, be a coach, and be a really big leader for some of these young guys. So like I said, this is very good news to hear that they are definitely considering bringing Justin Turner back, and I think that they probably will. So for our next part of the article, here comes the delusional part, where it says the Mitches bouncing back. Now, if you guys have been watching some of the content this offseason, I'm actually a strong believer that Mitch Garver will bounce back in 2025, whether that's, a 220 with 23 home runs bounce back, but either way, I do not think he's going to perform as bad as he did in 2024. So arguably, I think Mitch Garver will probably bounce back a little bit. I don't really think it can get much worse than it did. But for Justin Hollander to quote unquote say, we anticipate both those guys bouncing back and being better than they were the year before. In my opinion, that is definitely just a quote that they cannot embrace, that both of these guys combined will be making $28 million in their final year on these deals. They'll each be 34 and coming off arguably their worst seasons of their entire career, while making $28 million doing it. So if you anticipated any of the Mitches to not be there on opening day, you were sadly mistaken. Now, I do think they may eventually cut Haniger if they think that that is possible, but I think that is very much a long shot. So one of the next topics in this article is about the bullpen. So if you guys didn't know, the Mariners bullpen actually finished 26th in F WAR after ranking 4th from 2021 to 2023 combined. And that is obviously with the massive misses of not having Gregory Santos and Matt Brash at the back end of that bullpen. It was expected to be a three-headed monster with those three coming out in your 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, but obviously due to injuries, that was not possible. And another positive note that Justin Hollander pointed out is that Matt Brash could return sooner than expected. So I believe the timeline was anywhere from June to July. So hopefully with that coming back a little bit sooner, he can come back with hopefully maybe the end of May. Would be super nice to have him back for a full season. Justin even says he would rather not try to put a timeline on it, but he said he does anticipate early in the season, sometime in late April or early May. We think it's realistic based on how he's trending, which is absolutely great news to hear as a Mariners fan. So moving into another topic that probably makes a lot of Mariner fans happy is kind of something that Jerry Dipoto had already mentioned, and that is Plan Z on young starters. So trying to take trades on Gilbert, Kirby, Wu, or Miller is definitely in Plan Z and one of the last options this offseason if nothing else pans out. But one thing I have to point out, and it could just be me speculating, but he did not really mention anything about Luis Castillo and the possibility of making a trade there. And obviously he has the no trade clause, but it could be very easily waived if the two of them try to make a deal with a team that Luis Castillo would be interested in going to. So I'm not trying to cause any rumors or anything, but it is definitely something interesting that Luis Castillo's name was not mentioned in that not trading. Now, something that was mentioned also in these few paragraphs under the young starting pitching not being traded is that Josh Rojas and Luke Raley are most likely going to be your platoons at first and third base. Now, I don't think this is much of a surprise that Luke Raley is almost going to kind of be his own utility guy while he's going to mix in reps at first base, especially if they sign back Justin Turner. They're definitely going to be a platoon over there, but also Luke Raley can fill in off days for guys like Randy Arozarena, Victor Robles, Julio, whatever the case may be. So he's going to be moving around, in my opinion, probably a lot from the three outfield positions as well as first base. And it was basically saying that most of the team is remained to stay intact except possibly two infield bats, primarily obviously at second base. But if you want my personal opinion, I would rather Seattle Mariners focus on third base and getting a guy that can play every single day over there instead of platooning there again. Maybe just have Demo and Josh Rojas platoon at second base, but that is obviously just taking the easy way out. So I would rather them, but if I had to pick which I'd rather them have an everyday second baseman or everyday third baseman, I'd much rather have a Geno type player that can play solid defense at third base while also putting out 25 home runs. And of course, it was reminded just to shove in all of our faces that the Seattle Mariners will probably not be spending at the top of the free agent market. So any guy that, someone like Christian Walker or Alex Bregman, whatever the case is, whoever you're hoping, it seems like that is a very far-fetched assumption. But on top of that, it did also mention that they are looking for two bats in the market somewhere, whether that is through a trade or in free agency. So that is just a little bit of an update on kind of where the Seattle Mariners offseason is at and what kind of some plans going forward that they have, which kind of clears a little bit of the questions that Mariners fans definitely did have this offseason. But now it's just going to be a waiting game to see who will be a Seattle Mariner in 2025. Hopefully they can get two guys that'll legit make an impact in this offense. But please let me know your guys' thoughts on all of this news. Otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.